they, them. My personal connection to disability is being neurodivergent, and then I also have a bleeding disorder called hemophilia, which is basically where my blood doesn't really clot that well. So I have to infuse like 2 to 3 times a week so that my blood is able to clot. So to me, disability, especially neurodivergence, because it's kind of invisible, is feeling like an alien in society, yet at the same time knowing what it means to be human. So all of our differences in disability, race, age, experiences, cultural traditions, and spiritual or religious practices, I feel like those are some of the biodiversity that make us human, and being in touch with that awareness. Learning about disability justice, like, part of the reason I have so much love for it is because I feel like before knowing about like neurodivergence or anything like that, I feel like I didn't really know as much how to identify like what was going on for me, like why I would get really overwhelmed when I was younger, like in school environments, because like the fluorescent lights and just like sensory and social overwhelm.
Hi, my name is Anka. My pronouns are they and them. I live in Brooklyn, New York. I'm from Jersey City, New Jersey, my favorite place. I'm a community organizer. I work at the Audre Lorde Project. I'm a grad student studying public health at CUNY. I'm the oldest of 5 siblings. I'm a Virgo. All important things to know about me. And I am chronically ill and or disabled. I think still trying to figure out what it is to me. Yeah. It's pretty devastating. I don't like to think about it all that much, if I'm being very honest, because it can be really sad. There were like all these things that, as my illness progressed, I have been unable to do the things that I used to love to do, like as simple as taking really, really long walks or just being out all day or like traveling. Like I'm not able to do it in the same way that I once was. So I think in ways that are like painful to think about and talk about, I think there are times where I resent my body because I'm like, why have you created so much pain and heartbreak for me? And I think that, we talk about disability and illness so much as like the material needs that you need or the physical pain that you experience, but it's also deeply like emotional. I like feel like I'm in my healing era, so trying to think about like what it means to like have an emotional life that has also been really fractured by my experience of disability.
My name is Christian. I am 30 years old. I am an actor. I am Black. Oh, snap. That's cool. Anyway, I have been battling with bipolar disorder for the past 12 years, and it is an adjustment, to say the least. I guess I'll start with Philadelphia. When I went into my first manic episode, and it's like this grand thing. Like I remember putting on khaki pants and a white button-down shirt and this brown jacket that I used to own, and like walking outside telling random people their most probable lottery numbers, and like walking down the street and like thinking back to that moment, I can remember how people were like taken aback by what I was saying to them. But to me, it was such a visceral process of like just knowing I am right and everything everyone else is saying is wrong. And it's that sort of moment that comes to you instantly where you have this battle of, is it me or is it everybody else? Literally everybody else. And at that point you have to say, okay, it's probably me. And I remember the police pulling up and me getting into the back of a car with my, here, handcuffs on me, and I'm thinking to myself, tears streaming down my face, thinking to myself, how am I going to explain this to my mom? And how am I going to say to my mom, hey, Ma, I used your insurance card to try and get an Apple laptop, and they said no. And I was more frustrated that they said no than me coming to grips with the reality that I'd lost touch with reality.
Well, I'm multiracial, like I'm Black, white, and Asian, so I feel like that's part of that also makes me in touch with like the differences of humanity, and growing up in a family where like there weren't really racial tensions, like everyone just saw each other for who we are. It kind of made me, I feel like I grew up with an awareness of like how people can be so different but also similar.
I feel that culturally there is a expectation that you will power through anything, and I think that's true for most society under capitalism. But I think that's like very much true for like, you know, like my hardworking immigrant community. That's like we pull ourselves up and we're like gonna do the thing, and no matter what you have to do the thing and like be the best and whatnot. So nothing, not even your pain, should be able to keep you from that.
And then to view it from your cultural standpoint, whereas I am a, let's see, third generation African American in America with so many things that are already built upon me as sort of barriers that I need to break through in order to be successful in life. And there's this added level of mental illness that is here rather than here.
I think like culturally, I think in you know, Desi culture, I feel like it's already kind of taboo to like talk about anything related to your body, especially if you're someone who is perceived as a woman. And so that is not a conversation I don't think I've ever had in like the community that I grew up in, for example. But I do find that now, like in our generation, there are so many more like, you know, brown people talking about common chronic illnesses, like endometriosis, PCOS, like all these sorts of things. So I feel like there's a little bit more space for it now, but it's up until a point. I always get stuck on that, like it's okay until it makes our life more inconvenient. That is the thing that I always experience.
I feel like for me, a lot of my community is through online communities, or at least it starts that way, or the healing arts community, just because there's more of an awareness of disability and neurodivergence. I don't want to make this all sad, but I did, yeah, we were really close, but I did lose her in June this year, so it's kind of hard to do like some of the other parts of my healing work that remind me of her more, but I would say she was really proud of me for doing my healing work, and I feel like in a lot of situations I feel judged or like not good enough for that kind of work that I do, just because a lot of people don't understand it, or it's not really accepted within our society in a way that I like to do it, which is more like decolonizing, I guess.
Community means a lot, because with this disorder, you sort of have to build a community of your own for support. And it sucks when you start to pick at that community and see who's actually there because they want to be there, and who's there because they want the pat on the back of, I helped the special guy. See me, I'm a cool person now because I helped that special guy.
Community is everything to me. I think that I would not be here without community, without pouring into it and having it poured to me. And I think I come from a pretty strong tradition of community. You know, my parents are immigrants from Kashmir, and so I think it's really difficult to not have an analysis of community when you grow up in such a tight-knit, like, Kashmiri immigrant community, people who at the drop of the hat, anything happens, they're over, they're here, they're gonna take care of you, and you're gonna do the same for them, because we know that community means family, and it means chosen family. And I think it's like the people that I just want to walk through this life with, and who make it more bearable even on the days that it seems like it won't be.
So a big part of what's hard for me is like going to places where I don't know what the situation's going to be like lighting wise, if there's going to be a lot of people, and I feel like my friends are able to understand and like respect that, so like it's nice to be able to be like, oh, I don't want to go here because there's probably going to be a lot of people, or it's probably going to be really crowded and bright.
Mostly that we're still people, and we still have wants and goals and dreams and such. And it's not, well, I'll say this, it is in our head, it's not in our head.
If there was one thing, there are several things I would love to change about the healthcare system. In the United States, as it exists, the healthcare system is a mishmash of like 4 different healthcare systems taken from, like, you know, there's like a little bit of a socialist healthcare with like the VA, and there's a little bit of the for-profit stuff and all this sort of stuff. There's no cohesion in the way healthcare is set up, and that is on purpose to maximize profit. If people who are like assigned female at birth, their pain is normalized from the very beginning, of course. Like people who are socialized as women, people who experience periods or like have a uterus or things like that, it's always like, oh, you should expect that this will be painful for you. You should expect that your life will be painful in many different ways, and that you should hold it. You should expect that sex would be painful. All of these things across the board, it's never a like, this shouldn't happen this way. And I think when I got my diagnosis, I think I was like 21, and I was living in Boston at the time. And I had this doctor who literally sat me down and was like, this should not keep you from your life. This should not keep you from being a person. This is not normal. And like, I straight up cried in that doctor's office, because I was like, well, what are you talking about? Everybody's been saying this is like totally normal. Even when I knew that it was not normal, it just was so much the like stuff around me. My mom would be like, put some turmeric in your eggs and you'll be fine. I mean, the turmeric and eggs hack is like very good, but it did not make me fine at all. And I think that there's like a real problem. It's just the misogyny and the like ableism compounds on one another constantly. And we already know the facts show us that, you know, women or people who are perceived to be women whose pain is much less likely to be taken seriously. It is much less likely to be treated accurately. And like, you know, in doing so, we create this category of people whose pain does not matter. Not even that it doesn't matter, it doesn't exist. It's completely eradicated. And then you put other intersections on it. Black women have some of the highest rates of, you know, mismanagement of pain, and also a complete disbelief of pain, right? My own mother was denied epidural for 4 out of 5 of her births, and just on the basis of, I don't know, a brown woman who couldn't speak that much English must not need this, right? And it's a dehumanization at its core.
For me, care definitely includes how society like shapes people's experiences and disempowers certain identities, and how can we as individuals, even though we can't change that like right away in society, like how can we nurture those parts of each other that are wounded by that over time, that are traumatized, and how can we help empower each other?